Welcome to Desi Return Diaries, Embracing Home Again, the podcast that shares personal journeys and expert insights on returning to India. I'm your host, Avinash Pedi, here to guide and inspire you on your Desi return journey. Hello, everyone. Hope you are enjoying your day. Welcome to another episode of Desi Return. Today, I'm really excited to have our guest Manasa on the show. Manasa went to US, spent 5 years there before returning to India. I'm looking forward to our conversation with Manasa. With that, welcome Manasa to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Manasa, if you can share a bit of your background, your education, what made you to move to US, and what are the triggering points for you to decide to come back to India, I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah. So I am a telecommunications engineer. So I did my bachelor's in India in telecommunications engineering, and then I worked for a year in India, and then I moved abroad for my master's. So I did my master's in University of Colorado Boulder, in master's in telecom again. So I finished my master's. I also got an internship, and then with the same company, right? I was able to get a full-time offer and work there. And to be honest, I had a great time in the US. It set my career path. Very happy to have done masters in US. And the reason why I moved back, it wasn't a voluntary decision in the sense I didn't have any control over it. It was because in the 3 attempts of H1B that I had, my visa was not picked for H1B. And I finished my OPT, and then I had several options, right? I mean, most people have these different options like day one CPT and try to do a dual masters and other things. But I did not want to do that. I wanted to move back to India, and I did just that. And
Great.
the reason being, visa not being picked up. But in my mind, I always wanted to move to India.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, when did you move back to India?
It's been over a year and 3 months, I guess. So June 2022, I moved back to India. So yeah.
Cool. So maybe I think let's dive into that a little bit. So once you decided to move back to India, did you have a job already in hand, or were you applying beforehand, or did you apply after moving back? Anything that you can shed light on that career transition?
Sure. Yeah. So I did not have, like, basically, I was working for a company that was very helpful in making the transition smooth for me because they agreed to give me an internal transfer
Okay.
to the home country, to India. And we had teams basically working out of Bangalore as well as US. So it was pretty easy for me to, once my visa was not picked, I could ask my employer to, you know, I was trying to figure out options, right? I mean, the people have these options of moving to Canada and, Amsterdam and London and all these things. But I really felt like I should go back because I was at a phase where I'm married, right?
Mm.
So I finished the phase where I wanted to explore by myself. I really wanted somewhere where I can stay with family. So it was either I stay with my husband in the US or I stay with my parents in India. So in that way, what happened was I decided to take up the India offer that my company gave me. And then because of them, I was able to do a smooth transition from US to India and start working in India. So
Okay.
for me, I did not have to interview anywhere, but the company where I worked for was very supportive and helped me through the process. Yeah.
That's great. I think that
Yeah.
you had the smooth internal transfer, and that's the best option to, for a soft landing, right? Especially when you're, changing the country. I think you kind of touched about this. So you are married, and so your husband is in US, and you are living in India. Is that right?
Correct. Correct. That's
Um,
correct.
I mean, if
For
you're
over a
okay,
year.
yeah, maybe you can share a little bit about the thought process. I mean, again, after marriage, like, that's a bit hard decision to for somebody to be working in US and somebody to be working in India. And that's one aspect. Like, how did
Yeah.
you go about it? And also, like, for a frequent travel, right? I mean, I again, just maybe anything that you can share, and also the plans, like, why you made the decision. I think if you're okay, I mean, that would be helpful for the audience. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I've been married for about more than 3 years now. When, especially at the time when I did not get my H-1B, I was married for 2 years. So pretty early in the stage of marriage to be actually looking for long distance. But it was a very tough decision. Like I said, I wanted us to stay together. Nobody wants to be separated, right?
Yeah.
We tried to think of multiple ways. I moved to Canada. I tried to, because it's close by. But then my thought process was this, it's been a long time since I saw my parents. It's been a long time since I saw my family and cousins and friends in India. And also because my company was willing to send me to India,
Mhm.
which I'm able to retain my job as well, right? So I thought, okay, hey, let's do this. Let's do the long distance for a bit. And we figured, we had a plan in mind. Like, we are not going more than 6 months with, or 5 to 6 months without meeting each other.
Yeah.
So how does that work? So when I moved to India, maybe, during the December, November holidays, my husband comes back, spends a couple of, weeks or two. Like, he actually spent about 2 months in India. And then after that, I was able to obtain a H4 visa, so the dependent visa. And then,
Dependently.
yeah, so I can now basically travel anytime I want if I have to see him. But the decision here was more about, when we were deciding, especially for the move, between me being employed versus me being away from my spouse. So the other part is I be with my spouse, but I'm unemployed because I can't immediately work on a H4 visa, and then I need a EAD and all that, right? So that takes a long time. And you need to have that approved I-140 and everything to get that going. So, in this stage of my career where I'm still in my late 20s to, basically 29, I don't want to leave my job and then, just sit at home doing nothing, especially when I don't have any other thing like, taking care of kids or bringing them up. So this decision came to us because we didn't have kids, first thing. And we also were in a stage where our careers were at its peak. We don't want to take a break. So we thought, hey, this is a temporary separation. We'll figure out a plan later. We'll meet every 6 months, but we'll be fine. So that's how this decision came along. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And again, the difficult decision, right? I mean, again, nobody wants to be separated, but I think you just need to prioritize what's important at this current time and move
Right.
accordingly. So for you, like, I think, after spending some time in US, when you transition, to India in this last 1.5 year, like, how has the, uh, you know, settling going on? That's one aspect. The second one is if you can talk a little bit on the work-life balance, somebody working in US versus somebody working in India. I think those two topics would be insightful or helpful for the audience.
Sure. So it was a pretty easy way to settle down in India because I've lived my entire life in India, apart from the 5 years I was in US. So I didn't feel like an outsider when I came back, right? I mean, I felt at home. So adjusting was pretty easy because lived with I just came back home. I mean, I just landed at the airport and my parents were there to pick me up. And then, and it was a while since I saw them. So the first few months went on and, went on like I hadn't even seen my marriage album.
Oh,
So I had to come back and, figure out things, meet people. And the transition was very exciting at the beginning. But after 2 months, you kind of accept the reality, right? 2 months it goes in meeting friends that you've never met before, like for a long time, and cousins. But after 2 months is when the reality sets in that, you're here for, probably another year. So is that fine? Or, are you going to be okay? without your husband being here. So that's when, I try to mentally make up my mind to remove, unlearn whatever I learned in the US and relearn in India, basically. So
Yeah.
some things are difficult, a little bit difficult to adjust, which is, mainly two for me. One is the pollution and the other is the population. So being from Bay Area, population was not too much of a difference, but pollution a little bit, because we are used to living in the US with clean air most of the time. But here, what happens, you're living in Bangalore, in the heart of the city, where there's a lot of noise, traffic jams, pollution around. So
Yeah.
I would I would carefully consider it, especially if you have respiratory illnesses and other things. But for me, thankfully, I didn't have any such problems, so I was able to adjust. And with mask and everything, I was able to get going. The other thing, population. It's okay. I mean, you have to wait in the crowds for some time to get things done, but eventually you will get it done. So it's a bit of, have getting a little bit more of patience when you move to India, and just the adjusting part of it that needs to be done. But for me, the rest of the benefits, I would say, completely outweighed the cons of it, which are basically, I get to taste my mom's food after so long, and I get like, I am able to interact with, go to my relatives place and eat freshly made food over there, get some stuff that I could never probably get in the US, right? I mean, there are some foods that are only tasty in India.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's the Golgappas, and I mean, I'm just I missed all those, right? So that was a very good um, thing for me. And then the other thing I liked is basically family, right? I mean, there in US you have your friends, but if you don't have a lot of relatives around, you might feel a little homesick and lonely there. Here, I got a chance to bond with my grandparents as well, because it's been a long time. My grandfather is 93 years old, and having the chance to speak to him again and do activities along with him, take him out for lunch, that gave me a lot of happiness. So
Yeah.
I think family is the main reason I feel very happy in India, and my in-laws, right? I mean, they were very happy that they hadn't even got a chance to talk to me properly, because after marriage we went back immediately. So
Yeah.
I got to like stay with them and just enjoy their my mother-in-law's food, my mom's food, everybody's food basically, and then
Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah. So yeah.
That's great. So, what about the work-life balance or the work culture between US and India? Because again, you work for the same firm at both places. So, anything that you can
Yeah.
share?
Yeah. So when I like basically, of course, there's the USD to INR difference that is fairly visible. But other than that, I think work-life balance-wise, for me, I was in the same project, under the same manager, with the same team.
Oh,
So
okay.
it did not make too much of a difference at all, because the same amount of work that I was doing in the US, I am doing in India, right? There is no difference between that. The only difference, though, I felt was sometimes you have nighttime meetings, not all the time. You do, and basically for me, it was fine because I get my mornings free, right?
Yeah.
For a couple of hours. I go to the gym, I practice yoga, I talk to my family, I hang out with people in the mornings. And then afternoon till night, I'm okay working, right? And it's not like my work-life balance is such that I have to clock in a couple of hours, like,
Yeah.
these many hours, like services industry, right? A product company is different. So you end up, the thing is, they're happy if I finish the job, rather than, how many hours did you put in, how much effort did you put in. At the end of the day, you need to finish the job at hand, right? So that's the thing that my company has always been focusing on, and that made it very easy for work-life balance in India.
That's
But
great.
you do have constant noise pollution when you're in meetings here, but all those are manageable. The only thing I would say is if you're not a nocturnal person, that is, you don't like working in the night times, you'll find it a bit of a challenge, but depends on the company and the team, right? Some companies or teams have meetings every day at night. For example, for us, like we get to decide what time the meeting is. Sometimes some people prefer early morning, where it's compatible with the PST EST time zone. Some people prefer our nights because it's compatible with their mornings. So it all depends on how you fix the deal with them.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
So in terms of your future plans, right? So is this, I know you kind of mentioned this more at this continuing the career path or the progress. So is the plan to go back to US for some time and then settle there, or you always have some intention to move back? Just curious, anything, you can share from your current phase to the future plans. Yeah.
Right. For me, I like, again, me and my husband, we are still discussing what the plan of action should be. But I feel like if you have enough US work experience, right? You have that, not just US, you have the global work experience in a different country, and you come back to India, you're at a little bit of advantage over getting promotions or getting because you have developed that skill set. That might involve talking to multiple people, being in that global setting, and especially if you have a master's from US, again, that adds to the skill set as well. So all of these kind of make you get uh, it's easier to grow in career when you come back to India.
Yeah.
So if I probably stay in the same team for a couple of years, I'll probably transition to a managerial role, and then have a good career progress. But yeah, so that is one advantage. US returnee in Bangalore or in India, you get that opportunity to just transition just because of your global experience. So that is one part of it, which I also plan on utilizing. But the other is, there's always the fact that you could still get more experience in the headquarters rather than in a India branch, right?
Yeah.
So you could there's always this at the back of my head, there is the thought that let me go back a few years to the US, work there, get enough experience, come back, and then contribute to the Indian economy. But at the end of the day, the idea is to come back and contribute to the Indian economy, and are benefiting our country in some way. So
Yeah.
I'm in the telecom industry, so obviously connectivity is the main focus.
Yeah. Cool. So from your perspective, are there any topics that we haven't covered or anything that you want to share to the future aspirants when they're thinking about moving to India?
Sure. Yeah. I would say, like basically when I moved, I felt a lot of people have asked me this question, right? Why did you come back? Why, what happened and stuff. I would definitely say that I missed my parents, and parents are the main reason for most people to come back to India. And the other being the medical system here. Though I was actually very impressed with India's medical system, which many people think it's superior in other, it is superior in other countries, I'm not saying that, but the affordability, the the fact that you
Accessibility.
can accessibility. For example, that day I had a case of food poisoning, and all I had to do was just walk down to the big hospital next door to my house, and then get an injection, and I'm done, I'm fine. Like, that's that kind of service, where there are a lot of wait times, where there are a lot of for example, even if you go to the ER, you have to wait for a long time to get treatment. If you end up and you end up paying so much without, especially if you don't have insurance. If I don't have to worry about insurance also, right, in India, like it's not that different when you compare with insurance versus without. So that is one. which attracted me towards India. The alternative treatments like homeopathy and Ayurveda and all these that are easily available here, which aren't in other countries.
Yeah.
That's one. So definitely there's a lot of benefits moving to India, but there are also cons. Cons being again cleanliness, traffic, and pollution, right? One thing I've seen here is I get a lot of time here to focus on myself than in US. The reason being, most of these, for example, you hire a house help, right, in India. And even though it may be expensive nowadays, you end up not having to clean your own house or sometimes even cook because you can hire a cook. So in that way, what is happening, you're getting time for yourself to focus on other activities, other important activities like focus on health, exercise, cook, multiple other not cook rather spend time with families and other things, right? So this is what attracted me towards India as well. So I'll utilize this to make my health better as much as possible, and if I get a chance to return back to US for a, because we still haven't figured out how we are going to
Yeah.
live together, right? So it either has to be India or US.
Yeah.
So looking at whether my company has any prospects that they can probably do an intra-company transfer in the future, or if I can try and get a work permit, something, right? If that works out, I go back. If that doesn't work out, my husband comes back and he tries to find a job here. That's all. So we will figure out. But these things were at the back of my head when making decisions about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. So thank you very much for sharing your journey, your experience after moving back to India, and also like working here in India, especially with in your case, working with the same team, same manager. It's just such a rare opportunity, right? Uh, so we just have like a fun rapid four questions. What's a surprise thing for you after you return to India?
Surprise in a good way or a bad way?
You can tell both.
Okay. So the digitization part of it. I mean, I was completely mesmerized by the way, even the street vendors have Google Pay
Yeah.
and Paytm and all these things that I've never carried cash around ever in the last 1 year that I'm in India.
Yeah.
So not even cards. So
Yes.
yeah.
What about on the bad thing?
Bad thing.
Surprise, yeah.
Traffic has increased a lot.
Yeah.
It's not going down, it's just going up. So infrastructure needs to speed up and accommodate that.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. Like digitization is one thing that I hear so often from everyone, like how much they are amazed about the progress there, right? I think, yeah. And what's your favorite travel destination in India?
Oh, I just went to the Andaman. Um, Me and my husband, when he was back in India, we took a week off and then we went to Andaman, and it was beautiful. Like, the food, we get Indian food, which I can't get if I go on a tourist place to Hawaii or something, right? Not much. But so I'm a big fan of the Indian food. So yeah, so we get that. And also the serene beauty of the ocean, Indian Ocean, and very, very impressed by that.
That's great. And your favorite Indian dish?
Oh, a lot of a lot of them. Uh, I would say pani puri.
Okay. And then the last one is the favorite part of living in India.
Family
Um,
for sure.
Great. So once again, thank you very much, Manasa. Really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your journey, the details about the thought process there. So it's very helpful. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you all for joining us on this insightful journey of Desi Return. If you enjoyed this episode and want to explore more stories and expert advice, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to leave a comment below with your thoughts and experiences. By the way, check out the links in the description below for our Facebook group and social media for updates and engaging discussions, as well as connecting with fellow Desi Returners. Thank you once again, and until next time, may your Desi Return journey be filled with joy, growth, and endless possibilities.